Okay, take two. Hi, Adon. This is a little weirder because I can't see myself this way now. I've recorded this intro already, but I had it on the backwards setting so that I could actually see what was going on in the camera. But then I realized that that was going to make any words that showed up on the NPC screen backwards. So not going to do that. Yeah, I'm just going to try to cover the basics of this. You know, obviously not going to be able to get to everything, and a lot of it is just fucking nuance that you figure out yourself over how you want to do things. You know, there are all sorts of little personal tricks and kind of quirks that can develop as you use these that change the way that your sample chop style is. Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. Obviously, I'm probably going to use a different methodology overall than you. I don't know. It sounds like you're trying to get, a turntable set up. And so you'll probably be chopping some stuff from records, but I imagine you'll be chopping a lot of things up from digital sources, which is very different. And there are ways of chopping samples on this machine, at least certainly my 2500 over here, um, has the ability to do stuff in terms of just loading up a sample and having it pre-chop it up and like divide it along BPMs, so that like each of the pads will supposedly represent one beat or one measure or whatever. I never really do that because I it's just easier for me to chop things up by hand using just the old turntable techniques, and it kind of streamlines my setup for me to just go straight from turntable to MPC as much as possible without having to switch to like chopping files up in GarageBand just to then put them back into GarageBand, etc. So I'm gonna just kind of do this my way, but show you some things along the course of the way that might make it easier for you if you are doing digital. The main thing you might want if you're going to be taking files from your computer, there is a USB cord to the MPC 500 that I don't know where it is. I never used it. I tried it once or twice when I first got the thing and then just never touched it again. So it is probably in a box somewhere. If I find it, I'll hook you up with it. I just have no I have no idea where. I got a couple of boxes of wires, so I'll take a look and see what. But I couldn't even begin to help you with what to do with that. But that there is a way with that to upload samples directly from a computer onto the unit. So good luck. But yeah, one thing you'll definitely want if you're if you're recording stuff from a computer onto it is a good old fashioned double male 1/4 inch to just some sort of female end, and just run like a headphone cable out of the headphone jack in your computer into one of these into the MPC, because it does not have a mono input. As you can see, the inputs. Oh, right here. You got the liner mic. I actually just realized today, I don't know how long I had it set to mic, but I had it set to mic for maybe forever. That which could explain some volume issues that I had. Though actually, I've heard from other reviews and stuff that I've seen from people that this is just a really quiet unit. You'll probably have your record gain cranked up almost all the way, like every time you're recording. It's very difficult to get like a full volume on these, and in fact, sometimes I recommend recording things into your DAW or whatever, track by track, and like putting overdrive on them and stuff like that. That's been really handy for me. But yeah, one of these good old fashioned buddies into here is a good way to cheat your way into stereo. I don't think it always actually works as stereo. I mean, obviously you need to have the right adapters and whatnot. But today I'm not going to be doing that, just because I have a better thing set up, which is hopefully, if you're scratching, I'm not going to go into my closet and look at that mixer that I'm giving you right now, but my guess is that it has what is fairly standard on mixers, which would be 1/4 inch stereo out. So you should be able to do this and just use two 1/4 inch jacks running from the mixer directly into the MPC. Power button back here. Start up. I'm gonna see if maybe this will look better if I like turn the light off or something. I didn't actually plan out the whole camera angle thing before I started, but this looks like it'll cover most of it. Maybe you won't be able to see the screen great. I'm probably gonna have to move this around a lot, suffice it to say. Okay, a little better. All right. I already have a record that I was fucking around with yesterday, so I'm just gonna go ahead and use that. Um, it features Phil Collins, but like prog era Phil Collins, not pop Phil Collins. And let me get an adapter going here. And so I'm just going to run from the phone's jack on the back instead of the output and just run that directly into the amp for my stereo system. So for me, generally, the first thing I do after I turn this on is to hit this mode button, which activates a bunch of features that are on the pad. So you see these yellow words: program, save, load, slider, trim. So those are all secondary functions that the pads have. They're menus that you can be taken to by hitting the mode button. So right now, the screen says press pad to select mode, since I've already pressed mode. If I press it again, undoes it. Just takes me back to the main screen. But mode, and then record. Oh, that didn't. Oh, that didn't fucking work. So okay, mode, pad 4, record. There we go. So now you see it says mode stereo. So that's not related to mode as it is here. That's just telling me which record mode it's in right now. So yeah, we're in stereo. I've actually never really even messed around with this before. Like I said, I was making it up as I went for the most part when using this unit. I'm more familiar with the actual functions of the 2500 now because, I don't know, it's such a beast that it demanded that I do a more detailed look into how it worked. But so it looks, as I turn this knob, oh yeah, monitor on. You're going to want your monitor on because basically that's what you're fucking using this screen for, is to actually hear the sounds and make sure they're recorded properly. There's the threshold. The threshold is something that I never used on this unit, but I do use a lot now on the 2500, so you might find that this comes in handy. It determines how loud a sound has to be before it actually starts recording. So they always start at 48 for some reason. I don't know what 48 even means, negative 48. And I think it can go down to like negative 63. Yeah. And then sometimes on some units beyond that is infinity, where basically it'll start recording immediately no matter what. So yeah, it depends basically on how loud you're operating at the time, what you want to have that set to. I usually try to have it set very low, like to a negative 63 or so, because that will just make sure that the sound starts when you fucking determined it to start. When I let go of my crossfader, I want it to start recording that instant. The problem with that I've discovered is that sometimes, like my 2500 is very sensitive, so if I record it like a negative 63, sometimes it'll cut in so sharply that there's a popping sound at the beginning of the sample. So if you find that happening, just go ahead and set the threshold to, a higher level, like back to that 48 or whatever. And that should hopefully get rid of the popping. Another way to get rid of popping is to kind of ramp into the sound a little bit. So maybe if you're using a crossfader, setting that to like a softer curve on the cut-in so that the volume kind of ramps up for a millisecond, and that can kind of ease it in so that you don't get that popping sound at the start of the sample, which often I don't notice those pops when I'm recording the samples, and then once I actually make the track, I realize that it's just filled with this really fucking annoying clicking, and that sucks. So I've got the threshold set to 54 right now, just from randomly moving the wheel around, and we'll see how that goes and if we get any pops. And it looks like those are actually, oh, no, yeah, record in. So I think you could, that's not even letting me select anything else. Oh, main or record in. I don't actually know what that means, so we're going to move on. Free, that's the amount of free sample time. So this thing has a total sample record time of looks like 11 minutes and 47 seconds. My guess is that that's because the other 13 seconds are taken up by the preloaded samples, which there are some shit samples preloaded on here. In fact, I think they should be already assigned to pads. I believe that this thing loads up with the samples that are built in already assigned to pads. So I'm going to hit full level. Oh yeah, full level won't actually work on this screen because this is the record screen. So I'm going to go mode and then program. Program is kind of your main screen. Some people would argue that, I mean, this thing here says main, but that's just because it's dealing with your sequence. So it means main because that's like, you know, the main track creation screen. But to me, program is the main screen because that's the one where you're actually dealing with each sample individually, and you can program their personalities. So oh, I have this volume set very low on my amp. Yeah. So yeah. Yeah. Those suck. We're gonna overwrite all of those. So mode, record. Again, so essential. That's the free space. Let's see if there's anything else. No, that seems to be it for the record screen. We've gone over the details of that. So I'm turning my turntable on and my mixer. I'm not gonna. It would just be too much camera work for me to physically show you, the act of me like queuing up the samples with the records and then going back to the MPC. So I'm just gonna keep the camera on the MPC for the most part. And so shit, it has been a while since I've used this motherfucker, but I'm pretty sure that if I hit record, no, maybe that's not it. God damn. It really has been a hot fucking minute. Holy shit, do I remember how to do this? And in fact, why is no sound coming in? Yeah, I'm not hearing the record playing right now, and I want to be hearing it. I have record gain all the way up. Oh, you know what? Yeah, these are the outputs. I accidentally plugged in the outputs instead of the inputs. Turn this down so I don't get a horrible buzzing. All right, there we go. Yeah. Woo! All right. Okay, yeah, so fucking how do I record? Oh, yeah, I remember. I think it's this do it button. Yep, yeah, right here. 12 levels/do it. So if I hit that, then it says waiting input, which means that as soon as it hears a sound that is above the threshold that we set earlier, that I have at 54, then it will begin recording that. Now, I'm actually going to hit cancel. The full level button is also cancel because I don't actually have the sample that I want yet. So we'll find a sample real quick. I found a track on this record yesterday that had some like chunky drums on it. I think it might be on the other side. Huh. I'm trying to clean cat hair off of my needle. There's cat hair everywhere right now. Cat's shedding like crazy. Oh yeah, there we go. Okay, so, fuck it. This is going to sound like a bad old prog rock song is being sampled, but it's what we got here. So I'm going to hit do it. It's waiting input. So then, and then I'm also going to hit do it. And that tells us that it's done. Name, you don't have to worry about assigning names to samples unless you're going to save them and like use them later. I always kind of just wipe the slate clean every time, so I don't really worry about that shit too much. I only recently even got a couple of things as producer tags that I've saved, and that's it. If you plan on recording live, then that's another story. But if you're just, I mean playing live and like performing songs, but if you're just going to be like doing little tracks at home and just using shit one time and then abandoning it, then don't worry about that. But a lot of people build up drum libraries and stuff, stab libraries, whatever. So this does have, there's a memory card slot. There's already a memory card in there. Yeah. There's already a memory card in there, and so I mean that's like doubled the memory on this thing. So you can save samples if you want. That'll probably reduce the amount of time that you have available to record samples later. So keep that in mind. But you could always delete the library of shitty samples that are pre-built in here. And so then the other thing it says is assign to pad. Of course, to assign something to a pad, you just hit that pad. So now it's changed to A1, and then I would hit do it again. 12 levels. Do it. Bam. And so now and these pads, they're not the most sensitive. I mean, this is a beginner model MPC that's a little old, and I've definitely probably put it through some abuse. So you know, I mean, it's not hard, but like you'll notice it's not making the sound every time I touch it. You have to give it a good knock. So, and if you hit it too much, sometimes the stereo cuts out. Yeah, like lots of crazy quirks you'll have to get used to. And in fact, one thing I'll warn about this unit is that it has always had this error. I bought it used in 2013, I think. Maybe, probably 2013. And even at that time, every once in a while, it will just randomly stop being usable for that session. Like you'll be in the middle of making a track, and basically what'll happen is that the track will just keep playing, the loop will just keep going, and you won't be able to press any buttons. And at that point in time, it's game over. You can record whatever you have playing on that loop into your computer or something, but you can't build on it anymore, and you can't save it. At that point, all you can do is fucking turn it off and start again. I have had to rebuild tracks from scratch because of that. So keep that in mind because it sucks. It doesn't happen that often. When I say it sometimes, it's really it's very rare, very occasionally. I think it's happened to me probably maybe even fewer than 10, but definitely fewer than 20 times in the last, 7 years. So don't fret about waiting for that to happen. Like it's just fate. Oh yeah, that's a real clean bass note right there. So do it. See, I didn't like where I actually cut that one in, so I'm going to hit cancel. And now I'm back to square one. Going to do it again. Got too much of that snare in there. Okay, do it. Bam. And do it. And you might not hear it, but I got a little too much space before the note actually hits when I recorded that. And normally what I would do is I would just re-record it by cutting it in with the turntable and the mixer as many times as I could, because like to me that's Oh, sorry, there's an Amber Alert. Jesus, that's loud. I normally don't actually get a lot of those because my phone is so old that it's not even compliant with the systems. But anyway, so yeah, to me, naturally, like my body is most inclined to record the sounds by just scratching them in again. But there is another thing you can do, which again, if you're going to be working digitally, is very handy. So I'll show you that. So mode, and then pad 6 program. Actually, I didn't need to go to program, but I did just to be safe. It's sort of a default thing that I do. And so you hit the sample that you want to trim. Pad 2, and then mode, and then pad 5 is trim. And so you see trim start, trim ST, and you could select the sample up here. I could go back to that first one. But yeah, I mean, it's easy to just assign it by hitting the pad. Trim start and trim. Come on. Oh yeah, the wheel on this isn't great either. Loop. I don't want it to loop. You can loop samples. I'm actually, where is trim end? Okay, there's end.